Greetings and salutations, everybody. I'm Andrew from Team Respawn, and in this video, it's going to be a little bit of a different style of video. I'm joined by nobody, also from Team Respawn, and what we're going to be doing here today is kind of a how to turtle style video. Just give you a very quick and very simple rundown of our method for turtling, because that's one of the things we love to do most on the channel is have games where we end up super turtling. We have a whole series dedicated to those style of games. We haven't had a super turtle happen this week when we were playing, so I feel like I should just give you a rundown of how we turtle. And I would say, starting it off, the best map to turtle on is Century. And the reason for Century is if you get it for 2v2, you have a very good chance to turtle on your side of the map pretty easily. The way Century's set up, I think Century, everyone hates Century. I think it's one of the best maps in the game, to be honest with you. It's just my opinion. So I'm going to start it off, just give you a quick rundown. The only thing I'm turning off is Fog of War. And maybe I'll have my leader powers come back in half the time just to make it simpler for everyone. So let's start it off. Now, let's say I think if you want a super turtle, you need to have a predetermined action or thought that you are going to super turtle before the game even starts, because I think choosing your leader has a lot to do with how you're going to turtle someone. And everyone's turtling methods are different than others, so again, this may differ from person to person, or other people might give you different strategies for turtling. This is just how it works best for me. So I'll give you a rundown of the leaders that I love to super turtle the most, and I think Pavium is honestly meant for turtling. I think everything about Pavium is perfect for turtling. You have the mega turrets, which really, if you set them up right, you can almost stop any ground force from even approaching your base. And then let's say they even get to your base, you have the not the full salvage. Oh God, this is embarrassing. I forget the name of the power now. Is it Unbreakable? Where all of your buildings become invincible for a short period of time. And then you have the Lich, which is essentially, we call it the Flying Scarab. It's very similar to close air support, but a kind of black hole opens up and you can train units out of it, which is pretty awesome. Serena, I would say, is the second best at super turtling. And this kind of goes hand in hand with Pavium. I think she's a great complement to Pavium, where you can get upgrades to where your power nodes have the chill effect on enemy units. Same with your siege turrets, and Kodiaks can have that same effect, so they can slow them down and work very well with Pavium's mega turrets. And Serena is just really good at physically stopping units from the icing, which is great. Sergeant Johnson is actually pretty good at super turtling. This kind of goes hand in hand with the combat salvage, the mech overcharge, Johnson himself being able to heal other units, which is very similar to Pavium. Pavium actually has an ability where his little drone heals buildings. Johnson's Y ability heals units, and then you have the bunkers, of course. And then once you get, I think it's Digging in Deep is his ultimate ability, where all your buildings are free except for turrets, which is great for your economy. Colony is really good as well. What I love about Colony is it has a really good set of units, and the combat repair ability heals everything, buildings and units over time, which is great, even when they're in combat. The Hunter Captain is phenomenal, especially when you slap skitters on it. There's just a lot of good powers for Colony. And then I guess I would round it out with either... Decimus is pretty good due to his passive abilities, and Cansano is really good as well due to the Inferno. Just really all the flame powers that Cansano has is really phenomenal. So that kind of rounds out really the best for super turtling. I'm going to select Pavium for this one, and just give you a rundown of how to super turtle as Pavium. Okay, so when you start the match off, I'm usually the type of person to go for a power extractor first. That's just how I am. Other people do the harvesters first. I like power extractors. Double harvester. Then you'll have time to make one extra grunt squad, and you use this to really go for the power nodes. While he's training, if you have crates nearby on Sentry, you can start gathering the crates. For your leader power, your first one, I recommend Burnout. Just helps you get the second tech faster. Really, you could get the mega turret second, and you'll have enough power as soon as the power extractor is done to go ahead and upgrade it. Usually by the time the grunt squad is done, you should be getting close to getting all these crates. It's not really a big deal if you get them all or not. Now you can. It depends on if you're doing this 1v1 or 2v2. If you're 2v2, your opponent or your teammate's base will be right here-ish. So you can kind of choose who wants to go for the power crates or go for the power node. I'm the type of person to go for the power node, usually. And then once you have the grunts capturing the power node, you send the other 3 to go get the power crates. I think this is just more efficient. And once you hit 200 power, you can start upgrading your harvesters. I'll send this grunt to capture this power node. And I'll send these 3 grunts to get the power crates. Select burnout and slap it on the harvesters. And the reason why I'm doing it on the harvesters is this is getting me closer to 500 resources, which is what I'll need for the second power extractor, and then we're cooking. I would upgrade this power extractor once I get 300 power, then go for a war council, and start making pavium. Depending on what these kids are doing early on in the game, I may go and make him a little ill with pavium or not. You can see this kid, I don't really think he knows what he's doing, but this is an AI, so it's not really saying much. And now, once you get your economy rolling, I think it's important you at least go for this power node here, and maybe, if you're quick enough, get this power node here on the opponent's side of the map. And especially if you have pavium, that's really simple and easy to do. And it'll just help you out in the long run.
What do you want?
You want to obviously go for other power crates on the map. There's some here. There's a big silo of power crates here. And I believe... Is there some over here? I thought there was. I don't think my Kevinness is getting the best of me. So I have the mega turret. And quite honestly, I don't think it's very useful to slap a mega turret on your back base, your main base here. I would get this mini base slot and put another harvester on it. That's just me, to get my economy rolling faster. I would start putting mega turrets on this base. And if you're going to super turtle, I think it's very important you get your side of the map set up very quickly and start making units that are very good for turtling. So for this, I'm talking about, if you're playing as pavium, making mega turrets, making blister backs. Marauders wouldn't be a bad miss. Throw in some engineers and shrouds into the mix to help protect your units. And really for turtling, quite honestly, especially on Sentry, it's going to be incredibly difficult for someone to take you over here. That's why this map is so good for turtling. It creates choke points, which is something I love in Halo Wars maps, which doesn't happen very often. That's why I think Sentry is really good. So you have a choke point here. This is really the main point where your opponent's going to be attacking normally as time goes on. Looks like he actually wants to dance while I'm trying to do the damn thing here. So let me get a little bit of nonsense going. My grunts are going to be wasted. He's playing as Jeremy. So this is going to be where your opponent's going to attack first and most often. So I would slap this with mines. I would make sure your mega turrets and your artillery units can hit here. I think that's probably the most important section of the map to defend. I would put like elite rangers or a sniper in this tower. And the reason being is most people usually... What the hell is he doing? Most people usually don't come across this bridge here. But if it's in your best interest, I would fight and capture this power node just for the line of sight. If you can't get it, then maybe like fly over and slap some mines right here so you can still have the line of sight, just to see if anyone's going to be doing any sort of air attack, because this is where your air attack's going to come usually across this side of the map. And so I would make your turrets obviously anti-air first. If you're playing as Banished, get all 3 of them. But if you're playing as UNSC, I would just make... Honestly, I would make either 3 turrets and 1 watchtower, or just all 4 turrets. Make them all anti-air. That'll really do some damage, especially if you get the fortified base upgrades to air. Now, I would say you also, for your population, put at least, like, I don't know, 8 to maybe anywhere between 6 and 10 Reavers or Wolverines. Anti-air is going to be very important just because that's going to be the fastest way for someone to attack you and really knock you back, because ground units are going to have a very hard time over here. The easiest way for them to come is actually right here. This is very wide open, and if you're not really paying much attention, they'll kind of waltz up here. They can almost come behind you, but your opponent's, okay, I keep saying that, your teammate's base will be right here. So if your teammate hasn't gotten this base slot yet, they could just waltz on right by you. I would make an effort to get this mini base here, but I wouldn't fight too much about it, because quite honestly, if you can hold the opponent right down the middle here, this is the middle of the map, if you can hold them to their side of the map for, I would say, like, I don't know, 10-15 minutes, you get your economy set up. Turtling is very good for your economy because you're not pumping out units, you're waiting for them to make the move, you're being very reactive instead of proactive on your attacks and your powers and everything else. So your economy is really going to go through the roof here pretty quickly. So I don't think getting any other bases on the map should be a priority for you. If you're going to get this one, then just slap harvesters on it. And maybe a power extractor, because if someone's going to take this space, you really shouldn't put up a fight for it, because that's going to obviously move your forces away from the area you want to turtle, and they can really catch you with your pants on the ground and kind of get you over here. So I would say maybe 2 to 3 mega turrets on this base. You still want this base to pump out units, have a lot of production buildings on here, just because it's a shorter distance for your units to come over here if there is an attack. Oh, it's Pavium Stand. I called it Unbreakable earlier, like a Kev. So for your powers, you have Mega Turret, you have Burnout, you have Rain of Fire. Next, for turtling, Ultramines are really, really good. You could also go for Full Salvage, and then Pavium Stand and Lich are obviously very important to get. And Enduring Wheel is awesome as well. You can't really go wrong with anything on Pavium's wheel in terms of turtling, because again, I think Pavium is really meant for turtling. And as for your army composition, I wouldn't necessarily go too much air. I think going vehicles and heavy infantry will be your friends here, and that's really just to counter air and other vehicles that your opponents are going to be doing, because quite honestly, if someone's going to be attacking your base with a bunch of units, they're going to be coming with very big stuff. So that would be vultures, scorpion tanks, grizzlies, locusts, maybe, cyclopses, units of that sort. You're not going to see too many wolverines. I usually don't, to be honest with you. You won't see too many wolverines or reavers or general infantry or flamers or snipers, anything of that sort, when you're turtling, because they're all coming to you. They're not really playing any defense. They're going to be making offensive units, and that's what you should be preparing yourself for. So it's really just countering the offensive units, which, you know, I would make hunters. I would make a few elite rangers. I wouldn't worry about jump pack brutes. Maybe a few grunts, either for cannon fodder or to help combat air. Let me upgrade this base for your Apex Shrouds, I think are good, just because they will block incoming projectiles. If you're going to do Banshees, make them for the case of anti-air, not for defending your base. Engineers, obviously, and a couple of blisterbacks. I think 2 will be fine. Once you get a shield on this base, I would slap them inside the shield. That just really helps out your mega turrets. And I would make sure that this base, I don't really know if you need actual turrets on this base, like how I have on this one. I would have shield generators. Not so sure about a cloaking generator, because if air's coming, they're going to be going for this base. So you're going to want to keep this base alive as long as possible. This is probably your most important base out of the 2. I'll go ahead and get the mines and start slapping them right here. Making an effort to put mines on all of the ramps, and if your colony starts slapping the walls, just make it harder and harder. Make it a battle for someone to come over here. You could slap your Pavium or Hunter Captain in this tower. It's a little risky, just in case if they completely ignore you. Don't forget about the Elite Rangers in this tower. You could slap a Kodiak here to put pressure on this mini base if they ever catch it. Also for a quick little picking off of units as they march over here. And for, well, I have Fog of War on, so you really can't see any difference. But for this base, I would definitely put at least 2 shield generators on here. You could argue for 3. For the other one, I would do a sensor tower just to give your mega turrets that you'll make just an easier target to hit, and they can hit them sooner if your units don't have any line of sight down here. And then, depending on what they have, like if they're approaching with Nightingales every time, you're not going to need a cloaking generator. But if they're approaching with, like, you know, a full pop of Hornets or a full pop of tanks or something, then yeah, I would go for a cloaking generator, just because there have been times where we've just been completely caught off guard, and someone will come to this base and they'll have a full pop of Hornets, and we have a cloaking generator, and they actually can't do anything, which is hilarious. So we'll go ahead and upgrade these turrets to anti-air. I'm not really been pumping any units, actually, just because I've been kind of trying to explain how we turtle. For burnout, just a little tidbit, you can actually slap this and get 3 buildings with it, both the power extractors and the main base, to make that upgrade go faster. The more you know, kind of a thing. I think hunters are good. Not to overdo it with hunters in case they go air. I think a lot of anti-everything will be very good for you. For Reavers, again, 6 to 10, I think it's a good amount. Some Marauders are good. I would avoid very heavy units like the Wraith and the Locust, just because I think their army composition can be a lot better. These are more offensive units, in my opinion, than defensive units. The Marauder, I would argue, is a more defensive unit than an offensive unit, just because of the thick hide and the vehicle upgrades you can get for the Marauder, which is awesome. And getting things like the upgrades for your grunts will never be bad, especially with the mines. And that's really how you turtle as the Banished. For UNSC, it's more or less of the same. I mean, you can see I only have 1 mega turret. I'm already kind of making this guy a little ill. And he just walked right into the mines like a scrub. It's really hard for me to showcase turtling in a video again. Why did he do that? That was so stupid. Let's do that. Joke's on you, nerd. And don't be afraid to use your powers. I would just make sure that you use your powers in a location to where units are going into it, rather than where they're just being, where they are, per se. Because someone's obviously going to be staring at their units when they're coming at you. So you kind of want to predict where they're going to go and drop it in there, so you get the most amount of damage to the opponent. And that's kind of more or less how you turtle as the Banished. For UNSC, more or less of the same. Make an emphasis on mines, emphasis on this base for siege turrets, and a watchtower. I would do, if you're UNSC, 2 siege turrets on the back, a regular turret up here on the front, whichever one's facing the hill better. So if this was a UNSC base, I would make a normal turret here. And then if it were this base, I would put it on the turret facing this direction, if that makes sense. And then whatever angle is away from the units, I would make that a watchtower to give your siege turrets more line of sight. And I would focus on leader powers that do damage. So things like the Inferno, the Napalm missiles, the Carpet Bomb. What the hell? What do they call it for Cutter? I forget. Don't be afraid to use your uber powers like the Lich, especially if you're in a danger, because if you're turtling, it's going to take them a few minutes to rebuild an entire army composition. So it's going to take them at least a few minutes to get going here. So if I slap this here, the Lich takes a while to come back. But, you know, it's no big deal. It's going to take them just as long to come around and return, because they got to build their units, get their army composition together, figure out where they're going to attack, and then they got to march all the way over here. Usually by then, your Lich will either be back or be close to getting back to where if you get caught in a bind, your lich should come back by the time that you're ready. You can see that this that Phoenix missile didn't do a whole lot because I have 2 shields, which is awesome. Don't be afraid to upgrade the mega turrets as Pavium. Don't be afraid to, if you're Serena, getting an ice cream truck, slapping it right there to kind of freeze units as they come in. Just be aggressive with your leaders. If you lose them, it's no big deal, because everything's really close. Don't be afraid to lose your units either, because you currently have the advantage. They're coming to you. So you have both the high ground on Sentry, and you have a shorter distance for your units to come, especially when they come out getting trained. I don't have the Enduring Will, but that thing lasts for forever. So just don't be afraid to use your leader powers. It's turtling's actually not that hard once you figure out. It's important to figure out who you're facing against. And once you kind of get all that sorted out, you get your second base up and running. You should be, keyword should be, pretty good. There's some things that can break a turtle pretty easily. Usually the most common is all air or super units. So just keep a mindset out for those. You can see when the Lich is gone, it's more than halfway back. So that's good. Anyway, if you liked the video, slap a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, if you feel like watching a Super Turtle more, feel free to subscribe. There's a whole playlist of like 20 or 30 some odd videos as of now of us Super Turtling. Some of them longer than others, some of them shorter than others. There's been a few games where we've gone well over 2 hours, and there's been one game where we've gone well over 3 hours Super Turtling. Usually the long games, the 2 and 3 hour games, happen on Sentry. It just goes to tell you how good Sentry is for Super Turtling. So yeah, hope you learned something new. If there's something you do differently for your Super Turtling strategy, feel free to post your thoughts in the comments down below. Love to hear what you have to say on it. That about does it for me. Thanks for watching. I'm Andrew from Team Respawn, and I'll see you next time.